Imagine this. You think you found a sibling who will always support you, someone you can trust with your secrets. But what if that person was lying to you for years, pretending to be someone else? For 4 years, my own stepsister tricked me. And the worst part? I never saw it coming. This is the painful story of how I was lied to, used and hurt by the person I thought I knew best. When my mom married my stepdad, I felt like everything in my life was finally falling into place. For years, I had wished for a family that felt whole, a place where I truly belonged. When I found out I was getting a stepsister, I couldn't have been more excited. I imagined us becoming the best of friends, laughing together, sharing our dreams, and supporting each other through everything life threw our way. I thought we'd be inseparable, that no one could break the bond we build. I was so sure that our relationship would be filled with trust, love, and memories that would last forever. I believed that with her, I had finally found someone who would always be there for me. But little did I know, everything I thought we were building was nothing but a carefully crafted illusion. Behind every laugh, every conversation, and every moment I thought we were growing closer, there was a secret I couldn't see. A secret that would soon shatter everything I believed in. The worst part? I didn't realize any of it until it was too late. By the time the truth hit me, the damage was done, and I was left questioning everything. Our bond, my trust, and the very foundation of the relationship I thought was real. The lies were so deeply woven into our connection that I couldn't even see them until it was all exposed, and by then, it was too late to take it back. At first, I didn't think much of it. She was always a little distant, and I convinced myself that it was just her personality. Maybe she wasn't the type to open up easily, or maybe she was just more reserved than I was. I told myself that it wasn't a big deal, that I was being too sensitive, or that I was just overthinking things. After all, we were still getting to know each other, right? But then, the little things started happening. Things I couldn't ignore anymore. She'd cancel plans at the last minute, always with an excuse that seemed a little too rehearsed. Sometimes, she'd say she was feeling sick. Other times, it was schoolwork or something else that seemed urgent. At first, I brushed it off. People have their reasons, I thought. Maybe she just wasn't in the mood, or maybe something came up unexpectedly. But then, it started happening more often. She would cancel plans we had made weeks in advance, and it wasn't just once or twice. It was happening regularly. I started noticing that she would avoid FaceTime calls, something we used to do all the time. She'd either not pick up or say she was too busy to talk, even when I knew she had no real excuse. And the excuses she gave? They started to sound more and more like something she had said before. I wanted to believe it was nothing, that I was just being paranoid. But deep down, I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. I couldn't quite put my finger on it, but something felt off. My gut was telling me that there was more to it, but I didn't want to face the possibility that I was being shut out. I kept telling myself that maybe I was overreacting, that I was imagining things. After all, she was still my stepsister, right? But no matter how hard I tried to push it away, that nagging feeling wouldn't go away. Every time she canceled, every time she avoided me, it grew stronger. It was like a whisper in the back of my mind, telling me that there was something I wasn't seeing. I wanted to believe that it was just a phase, that maybe she was dealing with something personal, but the more I ignored it, the more the doubt grew. Something wasn't right, and I couldn't figure out what it was. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being kept at arm's length, and I didn't know why. It was a feeling I couldn't escape, and it haunted me every time she pulled away, every time she made another excuse. But I didn't want to face the truth, not yet. The more I thought about it, the more her excuses started to pile up, and with each new excuse, a knot tightened in my stomach. At first, I tried to brush it off, telling myself that everyone has their own way of dealing with things. But as the days turned into weeks, the excuses felt less like misunderstandings and more like something I couldn't ignore. I can't FaceTime today. I'm feeling sick. Or I'm busy with schoolwork. We'll talk later. Each time I'd believe her, because why wouldn't I? She was my sister, right? But the more I tried to connect with her, the more distant she became. And then, when I'd ask our parents about her, they'd say they hadn't seen her leave the house. It was like she was always busy, but I never saw her doing anything. There were no signs of her schoolwork spread across the kitchen table, no late-night studying, no books left open in her room. It was as if she was hiding and I couldn't figure out why. I began to feel like I was losing my mind. I'd walk through the house looking for some sign of her, and it was like she wasn't even there. She'd slip in and out of the house, always avoiding me, always making up some excuse. I started to feel like I was the one being pushed out of my own home, like I was the one being ignored. And the worst part? I started questioning myself. Was I being paranoid? Was I imagining things? Maybe I was just reading too much into it. Maybe she was going through something personal, and I was being selfish by wanting her attention. But deep down, I knew something wasn't right. I could feel it in my gut, that nagging, unsettling feeling that something was off. But I didn't want to confront her. I didn't want to believe that my own sister, the one person I thought I could trust above all else, was hiding something from me. I didn't want to face the truth, because if I did, it meant everything I thought I knew about our relationship was a lie. It meant that the bond I believed we were building, the connection I thought we had, was nothing but a facade. And the idea of that, of being betrayed by someone I trusted so deeply, was more than I could bear. So, I kept quiet. I kept convincing myself that it was nothing, that I was just overreacting. I told myself that I was being dramatic, that it was just a phase, that things would go back to normal. But with each passing day, the feeling that something was wrong grew stronger. It was like a weight on my chest, a constant reminder that I was being kept in the dark. And no matter how hard I tried to ignore it, I couldn't shake the feeling that my own sister was pulling away from me, and I had no idea why. She wasn't just my stepsister, she was my confidant, my best friend, the one person I could always count on, the one I turned to when I was hurting, when I felt lost or confused. She knew everything about me, my deepest fears, my insecurities, my wildest dreams. She was the one who knew the real me, the side of me I never showed anyone else. And every time I needed someone, she was there. She would listen to me, comfort me, and make me feel like I wasn't alone in the world. When I felt like nobody understood, she was the one who made me feel seen, like my thoughts and feelings mattered. I trusted her with everything, my heart, my secrets, my struggles. I believed in the bond we shared, the connection I thought was unbreakable. I thought she was the one person who would never betray me, the one person who would always have my back. But the truth was, I wasn't talking to the person I thought I was. I wasn't sharing my heart with the sister I believed I had. I was talking to someone who had been playing me from the start, using my vulnerabilities against me. Every time I opened up to her, every time I poured my heart out, I was unknowingly feeding into a lie. She wasn't there to support me. She was there to keep me hooked, to keep me believing in something that wasn't real. All those moments I thought we were building trust, all those late-night conversations where I felt understood, none of it was real. She was using my pain, my fears, my dreams to manipulate me into staying close, to keep me from seeing the truth. And the worst part? I had no idea. I thought I was talking to someone who cared, someone who loved me like a sister. But in reality, I was talking to someone who was playing a game, using my emotions to keep me in the dark. And when I realized that, it felt like the ground had been ripped out from under me. Everything I thought I knew, everything I thought we had was a lie. The truth didn't come out in some dramatic confrontation. No, it came to me in the most unexpected way when I least expected it. One day, I was scrolling through social media, just mindlessly passing the time, when something caught my eye. It was a profile picture, her picture, being used on a fake account. At first, I thought it was a mistake, maybe just a coincidence. But then I realized the account wasn't just a random one. It was one of the accounts she had been using to catfish me. My blood ran cold. My heart dropped to my stomach. I couldn't breathe. The person I had been talking to for all these months, the person I had trusted with my deepest thoughts and feelings, wasn't her at all. It was someone completely different, someone I didn't even know. It was like the ground had been ripped out from under me, and I was falling into an abyss of confusion and disbelief. How could this happen? How could the person I had trusted more than anyone else, the one I thought was my sister, be lying to me this whole time? My mind raced, trying to make sense of it all, but nothing made sense. Everything I thought I knew was a lie. I didn't know what to believe anymore. How could I have been so blind? How could I have been so easily manipulated? I was in shock, paralyzed by the realization that the person I had been confiding in, the person I thought I could trust above all else, was someone I didn't even know. The betrayal hit me like a wave, and I couldn't escape it. I felt like I was drowning in the truth, and I didn't know how to swim back to the surface. I confronted her, my hands shaking uncontrollably, my voice cracking with every word. The weight of the truth was suffocating, and I could barely breathe as I asked her, "How could you do this to me? How could you lie to me for all these years?" The tears I had been holding back for so long finally came pouring out, and I couldn't stop them. The pain in my chest was overwhelming, a sharp ache that felt like it was tearing me apart from the inside. I had trusted her with everything, my heart, my secrets, my fears, and now I was standing face to face with the person who had betrayed me in the worst way possible. At first, she denied everything, her voice cold and distant, like she was trying to convince herself that nothing was wrong, but I could see it in her eyes. The guilt. It was written all over her face, and it crushed me. She couldn't hide it anymore. I had to hear the truth, even though I didn't want to. Slowly, the walls she had built around herself began to crumble, and she finally admitted it. The words felt like they were ripping through me as she confessed that she had been pretending to be someone else for 4 years. 4 years of lies, of manipulation, of using my love and trust against me. My mind couldn't process it. How could she have done this? How could she have been so cruel, so heartless? She said it started out as a joke, something small, something innocent. But as the years went by, it became something darker, something she couldn't stop. She used my vulnerabilities, my insecurities, my deepest fears to play a game. And all along, I had been talking to someone who wasn't even her. I had been opening up to a stranger, believing I was talking to the person I loved most in the world. The betrayal cut deeper than anything I had ever felt. It was like a knife twisting in my chest. Everything I thought I knew about her, everything I thought we shared, was a lie. And in that moment, I felt more alone than I ever had before. The person I trusted most in the world had shattered my heart, and I didn't know how to pick up the pieces. I can't even begin to describe the pain I felt in that moment. It wasn't just the fact that she had lied to me. It was the crushing realization that someone I loved, someone I thought would always have my back, had been using me all along. I had opened up to her in ways I had never done with anyone else. I had trusted her with my deepest thoughts, my most vulnerable moments. She knew my fears, my dreams, my insecurities. I thought she was my sister, my confidant, the one person who would never betray me. But in that moment, everything shattered. The person I had been talking to, the one I had been pouring my heart out to for years, wasn't even her. It was someone else entirely, someone I didn't even know. The realization hit me like a tidal wave, drowning me in a sea of disbelief. I felt like the ground had been ripped out from under me, like everything I had built my life on was just an illusion. The betrayal wasn't just a shock, it was a gut-wrenching blow that left me breathless. It was as if my whole world had collapsed in on itself, and I was left standing in the wreckage, completely broken. I kept asking myself, how could this happen? How could I have been so blind? I had been living in a fantasy, believing that the bond we shared was real, that the connection we had was something unbreakable. But it was all a lie. And the worst part? I couldn't understand why. What had I done to deserve this? What had I missed? My mind raced, trying to piece together the clues, the moments I had brushed off as nothing. How long had she been playing me? How long had she been pretending to be someone she wasn't? The more I thought about it, the more the weight of it all crushed me. The person I had trusted most in the world had deceived me for years, and I couldn't make sense of it. I felt like I had lost everything: the trust, the bond, the love I thought we shared. It was all gone, replaced by the cold, empty truth. In that moment, I felt like I had lost a part of myself. It was as if the person I had known, the person I had trusted, had never existed at all. The betrayal was so deep, so all-encompassing, that I didn't know who to turn to anymore. I didn't know who I could trust. I felt completely alone, like I was standing in a dark, empty room with no way out. I had been living a lie for so long, and now I had to face the truth. And it hurt. It hurt more than anything I had ever felt before. I wanted to scream, to cry, to make the pain go away. But all I could do was stand there paralyzed by the weight of it all, wondering how I could ever move forward from this. How could I ever trust again? How could I ever believe in anyone, let alone my own sister? The betrayal cut deeper than I ever imagined, and I didn't know how to pick up the pieces of my shattered heart. In the days that followed, I was numb. I felt like I was walking through life in a fog, disconnected from everything around me. I didn't know who to trust anymore. The person I had trusted most in the world had betrayed me, and I didn't know how to make sense of it. I kept replaying everything in my mind, over and over again, trying to figure out where I went wrong. What had I missed? How could I have been so blind? The questions kept circling in my head, and the answers never came. It felt like I was trapped in an endless loop of doubt and confusion. But slowly, over time, I started to rebuild. It wasn't easy. It was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. Every step felt like I was dragging myself through a storm, trying to find my footing in a world that suddenly felt so unstable. I had to learn to trust myself again, to trust my instincts, to believe that I could make decisions without second-guessing myself. I had to remind myself that I wasn't at fault here. I wasn't the one who had lied, who had manipulated, who had broken the trust. It wasn't my fault that someone I loved had chosen to hurt me. That realization, painful as it was, gave me the strength to keep going. It gave me the courage to face each day, even when it felt like the weight of the betrayal was too much to bear. But even as I started to rebuild, the hurt didn't just disappear. It stayed with me, lingering in the background, a constant reminder of what I had lost. The person I had thought I could trust more than anyone had shattered my heart, and no matter how hard I tried to move forward, the pain was always there. But with time, I learned that healing wasn't about forgetting. It was about learning to live with the scars, about finding strength in the brokenness. And though it hurt more than anything I had ever experienced, I knew that I had to keep moving forward, because I deserved better than the lies, better than the manipulation. I deserved to trust myself again, and to trust that I could rebuild my life, piece by piece. Looking back, I realized that this experience changed me in ways I never could have imagined. It wasn't just about the betrayal, it was about everything I learned from it. It taught me that trust is one of the most fragile things in the world, something you can't take for granted. It's something that takes years to build, but only moments to shatter. I learned that not everyone who comes into your life has good intentions. Some people wear masks, pretending to be someone they're not, and you never see it coming until it's too late. But through all of this, I also learned something important about myself. I am stronger than I thought. The pain, the heartache, the betrayal, it all hurt more than I can put into words, but I survived it. I rose above it. And I realized that no matter how deep the wound, no matter how much it hurts, you can heal. You can rebuild your life, piece by piece, and find the strength to move forward. You can learn to trust again, but only when you're ready. And that's okay. Healing takes time, and there's no rush. So to anyone who's been deceived, manipulated, or betrayed, know this: you are not alone. You are not weak. What you're going through is hard, and it's painful, but it doesn't define you. You will get through this. It may not feel like it right now, but with time, you will find your way out of the darkness. And when you do, you'll be stronger than ever before. Your heart will heal, and you will learn to trust again. Maybe not in the same way, but in a way that makes you stronger and wiser. You are capable of overcoming this. And when you look back, you'll see that the person you've become is someone you never knew you had in you. So hold on. You've got this.